The Loud House is one of the most popular Nickelodeon shows ever, but even popular shows sometimes just can't get it right. Wait until you hear which Loud House episode sent a shocking and totally wrong message to its viewers. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to never miss another video. And be sure to check out our community section for even more fun. Now let's check out some of the Loud House's most embarrassing moments. Sweet and sour. Seeing their parents get lovey-dovey is never a thing any kid enjoys. And we definitely didn't enjoy it when our cartoon mom and dad played a game of Marco Polo in the Sweet and Sour episode of The Loud House. Yep, that's one of the few embarrassing moments by Rita and her husband. These two decided to have a moment of fun that later got them kicked out of their hotel. And if it wasn't embarrassing enough to hear them screaming Marco Polo, we later see them do the same thing again. At the end of the episode, the two are trying to decide whether they should tell their kids why they really got kicked out. Then they decide that they should know once they're older, not now. And of course, they race to their hot tub, where once again, they do the questionable Marco Polo things that are definitely not meant for kids. Seriously, this is one of those moments you really never want to watch again because it's just too embarrassing. And we have a feeling their kids would be even more embarrassed when they learn what their mom and dad really did in that hotel swimming pool. Ew, that is way too much information. Let's just go to the next moment. Lock and Loud. Lock and Loud is one of those episodes with a purpose to teach kids about the importance of security. Everyone wants to be safe in their own household, so this episode definitely highlights an important issue all kids should be aware of. But there's one specific moment that totally ruins the seriousness of this episode. Well, actually, there's two. There's that moment with Rita and Lynn Sr. in a bush after they come from their ballroom dance class. We're telling you, the parents just can't control themselves in the Loud House. No wonder they have so many kids. But the other very questionable moment comes from Lisa Loud. Lisa is a special kid as is, but she has some really strange interests. In this episode, Lisa seems to want to enhance her own security system by performing a slightly inappropriate scan on her family members. And then she adds she also wants a certain sample that refers to the number 2 in the bathroom. We'll let you figure that one out for yourself. This embarrassing joke carries on for way too long. Lisa even gives her mother a pat down and blurts out that she'll still need those samples. We also notice that she has a security camera system installed in the bathroom, which, let's be honest, is just way too bizarre. Funny Business. Funny Business is one of those episodes that make you feel really bad and embarrassed for Lincoln. The kid really does represent what it's like being the middle child of a family, and we hate that he does it so well. It seems like just about anyone picks on him, even complete strangers. In this episode, Lincoln becomes Luann's clown assistant that ends up totally stealing the limelight. But that's not what's embarrassing about it, even though Lincoln is pretty hilarious as a clown. What's cringeworthy is the fact that the goths and all the parents really don't treat Lincoln well in this episode. They really aren't on board with Lincoln's jokes at all, and instead pay all the attention to Luann. The parents even say that they never want to book the Funny Business Company for their own kid's party because they don't want the kid to hate them. Now that's kind of mean, isn't it? A lot of fans express that this particular episode just made them angry because Lincoln really didn't deserve this treatment, and for what it looks like, it's the treatment he gets all the time. He really does play the stereotypical middle child, but we do hope that he eventually catches a break. Brawl in the Family. A DeviantArt user called Super Blue Guy wrote this long essay of his least favorite Loud House episode, and his arguments are so convincing, we're adding a few in this video. One of those episodes is called Brawl in the Family. This episode is embarrassing from the plot perspective where, once again, Lincoln becomes the butt of all jokes. It seems like the Loud sisters just can't get enough when it comes to hating on Lincoln and blaming him for practically everything. The DeviantArt user states that it's unfair that the sisters put so much blame on Lincoln when in reality, a lot of things they blame him for were really their own responsibility. Come on, Lincoln can't enter the kitchen just because Lori and Lenny are cooling off from a fight? He even tries to make peace between them, but it unfortunately causes them to fight again. It really isn't his fault, but he ends up getting blamed for just about anything. Talk about unfair. Even the parents aren't putting their foot down, but are actually preparing separate dinners just because the two sisters can't get along. We know it's a cartoon world, but come on. What does this teach kids? Making the grade. Seriously, can Lincoln ever catch a break? We really hope that no middle kid gets picked on or gets such bad luck as Lincoln does. A lot of Loud House episodes are supposed to be taken with some sense of humor. There are just some that are way too shocking. Making the Grade is one of those episodes. DeviantArt's Super Blue Guy, but this episode is number 2 of his top 6 worst Loud House episodes list. This episode also had plenty of moments that could easily make you feel embarrassed, whether it's for Lincoln or the entire show. Seriously, Lincoln's friends abandon him. Just because his much younger sister attends his class and appears to be smarter than everyone, Lisa and Lincoln have a lot of adorable moments together. But her basically turning away all his best friends is not one of them. It really makes you feel for Lincoln and facepalm at the writers of this show. Come on, can Lincoln be something other than the butt of every joke? It seems that even some of the most hardcore Loud House fans are noticing the treatment he gets in these episodes. Hands up if we should make a video showing some of Lincoln Loud's best moments, because he definitely deserves it. Along came a sister. But enough about Lincoln. It seems that the adults of this show just can't help themselves. Every time they open their mouth, they do something embarrassing or say a joke only an adult could understand. Remember Miss Johnson, Lincoln's teacher? In this episode, Lincoln gets to bring home Frank, the class pet tarantula. The embarrassing moment happens when Mrs. Johnson explains what Lincoln needs to know about taking care of Frank. She says that Frank needs to be fed twice a day and can't be let out of the cage under no circumstances. But then she adds something even adults watching the show would find embarrassing. Her facial expression softens, and she leans back on her desk with a mesmerizing look. She then says that this tarantula is unlike her because she'll definitely be out of her cage when she goes away for the weekend. Adults will definitely know what she meant by that statement. Okay, Mrs. Johnson, it's already weird to know that teachers have a life outside of school. And this is just TMI for the kids inside the classroom and those in front of the TV. Talk about an embarrassing moment. This one really does take the cake, doesn't it? A novel idea. Uranus jokes are getting old, but apparently not for the Loud House. Of course, this could be a totally innocent joke, except that most kids these days are actually totally aware what it really means. A novel idea has a weird plot, where once again, Lincoln gets the short end of the stick. Lynn Sr. hosts a Take Your Daughter to Work Day and invites all Loud House sisters, except of course Lincoln. Lincoln is so bummed out by this. He even tries to dress as a girl so he could go, but it doesn't work out. His dad's office doesn't even do a Take Your Son to Work Day, so he never gets the same treatment. We're really starting to see a pattern with the Loud House and Lincoln's character. But that's not what's embarrassing about this episode. When Lincoln ends up at his mom's dental office, he has to play around on the dental chair. He pretends to be an astronaut flying into space. Of course, Lincoln makes a joke saying that he sees Uranus, and that is pretty gassy. Get it? Uranus? Gassy? We love a good pun, but come on, Lincoln. You can do better than that. The Loudest Yard. Okay, this moment really just wasn't necessary. The Loud House sometimes throws strange moments with a sense of humor no one really understands. Even kids can cringe at some of the stuff they see on TV. The Loudest Yard has one of those moments. We all know Lincoln loves to play video games and spend time inside, which is not exactly ideal. Rita ends up taking matters into her own hands and decides Lincoln needs some exercise. And this is what's disturbing about this episode. Rita puts on a home workout video in the living room and tells Lincoln that exercise can be fun. You can see Lincoln standing right behind his mom, and while his mom thinks Lincoln is exercising, he's doing something totally different. It seems like Lincoln is staring at his mom's behind. Well, he actually is because he taped a comic book to it, and he's now reading the comic book instead of properly exercising. We get it, we really do. But we feel just a little weirded out. A facepalm and a cringe are in order for this one. We can't imagine seeing anyone doing that in real life without it being totally bizarre. Get the message. Okay, this episode isn't so bad as a whole, but the beginning part still gives us nightmares. It's one of those things we never want to see again, and yet, here we are, because we have to show it to you. In Get the Message, Lincoln does what he does best, which is playing video games. He gets totally into it as he bounces around with his VR game and tries to defeat the bad guys. But instead of just keeping it at that, Lincoln has no problem showing off some of the most embarrassing moves ever. Sorry, Link, but you know these are bad. This is totally inappropriate for kids, but you can actually see Lincoln twerk his way up the stairs and into Lori's room, which, as you might know, is a totally bad idea. Seriously, Nickelodeon, couldn't he use any other moves? And in case you're not embarrassed just yet, this is not the last time Lincoln shakes his behind on this show. The inappropriate jokes are always popular with the Loud House. That doesn't mean they don't make us feel totally embarrassed. What do you think? Appropriate or inappropriate? Heavy metal. And the winner of the most embarrassing moment on the Loud House is the episode Heavy Metal. Our friend DeviantArt user Super Blue Guy put this episode as #1 on the top 6 worst Loud House episodes list. Many fans have expressed mixed emotions over this episode, and we feel them. What's really embarrassing about this episode is the way the Loud House is handling bullies. We all see that Ronnie Ann is the one bullying Lincoln. Yes, the same Ronnie Ann that ends up admitting to having a crush on Lincoln just a couple of episodes later. While we're always taught that if people pick on you, it usually means that they like you, this could totally send the wrong message to kids. After all, not all bullies are the same, and the child should know that they can report the bully to school authorities at any time. We won't even talk about the fact that Lincoln's sisters make the entire situation much worse. Even though sometimes teasing can be done out of love, it's just wrong to state that the bullying is just a simple act of love and that the child should never report anything to the school. What do you think? Do you have a least favorite Loud House episode? Why don't you let us know in the comments? And that's it for our video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.